episode 12. Episode 12. Changes. And it's your boy Icon. These are some changes. little DC TV going over the second to last. Like, just let that sink in for a second. This is the second to last episode of The Flash. Damn it. So, this particular episode starts, we pick up with good old Eddie Thawne, who's in the grave losing his shit. Eddie's completely off his rocker. He's lost it. You know, he just found out that he's still alive after all these years. He doesn't know how. We found out where Eddie is. He's in the future. So the person who's like the captain of the GCPD, that's the future captain. He ended up in the future time, 2046 or 45 or 2040 something. So he's in the future, and you know, but I was like, how does the lady who's the captain, how does she know him if he's from anyway? So so he's just like, you know, she disappeared because for some reason they said that Eddie's emotions were triggering like wormhole portals, and the captain, you know, she got sucked up into a wormhole because she was just like, oh, if you're really Eddie Thawne, and he was like, if I'm Eddie Thawne, and then a portal opened up and she disappeared. So he's losing his shit, and he ends up going to the Flash Museum because he needs to find the Flash, and he needs to seek answers. When he gets to the Flash Museum, he's looking around at everything, all the war, because again, and they said that for him, it was yesterday. Like when he shot himself and sacrificed himself, it was literally yesterday for him, but now like 30, 40, 50 years have gone by. So he's losing his shit. He's watching some old videos in the Flash Museum, and when he's watching the old videos, he sees numerous videos of the Reverse Flash being around, and he's like, this cannot be, because, you know, he's like, I sacrificed myself, I killed the Reverse Flash. Now, obviously, the reason why they saw those things was because we know that Eobard Thawne made copies of himself, and he's spread out throughout the multiverse. So we know the reasons why the Reverse Flash is back, so that's not a secret. However, from a time travel perspective, and obviously Eddie didn't think about this, if Eddie was there, and then he was just like, oh, he saw footage of the Reverse Flash fighting the Flash, and then he was just like, oh, how's this the Reverse Flash? Of course it's the Reverse Flash, because people need to remember Eobard Thawne takes place in the future. He has to exist at some point because he needs to go back in time and try to kill Barry Mama, and if that doesn't happen, then none of this stuff happens. So like, there always has to be, like, even in the future, there always has to be an Eobard Thawne born to go back in time and eventually die. So anyway, so now, so he's there, and then they get an alert from Team Flash because we see future Team Flash led by Nora West Allen. Bart wasn't there for whatever reason. They never said why, but then when they see like Nora, and she's the leader of Team Flash, we see Cecile, we see Chester, we see Allegra. Now, I'm gonna skip ahead for 2 seconds. There was a moment where Eddie actually went to the loft, and he went to go speak to Iris. He went to have a conversation with Iris because he was losing his shit, and he felt like Iris was the only person who could stabilize him and help him. Now, currently, we're in 2023. This episode takes place in like 2049. So we're talking about like over 20-something years later. So now, why is it that 25, 23 years later, Chester and Allegra still looks exactly the same? No gray hair, no signs of physical deterioration. Both of them they're married, but they don't have children. Everything's fine. Cecile, who at this point now is damn near 70. She still looks exactly the same. Same hair, same look, same everything. Nothing on this woman has changed. So why is it that when we see Iris later on in the episode, she's the only one with gray hair and bags under her eyes? I'm like, y'all did her dirty. Yeah, like y'all dead ass did her dirty. She still look fine though, even with all that gray hair. So anyway, so then we see Team Flash. Like I said, everybody's still there. They get the alert that somebody's down upstairs because because again, Flash headquarters is under the Flash Museum. So they get an alert that upstairs at the Flash Museum, somebody's there wreaking havoc. Nora goes upstairs. She sees Eddie Thawne. She starts talking to Eddie Thawne. Well, she realizes it's Eddie Thawne. And she's like, oh my God, it's Eddie Thawne. And then he's just like, how do you know me? And then she told him the story. She took the mask off. And then she was like, you know, like, I'm the daughter of Barry and Iris. And then he was just like, wait, don't I know you? And then she was just like, yeah, because back in 2013, my brother and I had to go back in time, and that's where we met you for the first time. It was cool that they even put the nod to that, because legitimately that wasn't the first time he met Nora. So the two of them are talking. She's trying to talk him off the ledge, And then he's just like, I don't know what to do. And then she's just like, well, come have a seat. We'll do some tests on you. So they run some tests on him. We find out that truly is Eddie Thawne. And then now he's just like, Iris was my whole reason for living, and I don't know what my purpose is, and I don't know why I'm here. And then Nora's like, well, maybe I can get a message out to my dad, and maybe my dad can figure it out. She goes to Gideon, and then she has a conversation with Gideon. She sends future Barry a message telling him that Eddie Thawne is back, and he needs to get his ass back here ASAP. And then Gideon says, oh, he's currently in outer space, but your message has been transmitted, and he'll receive it as soon as he gets back to the watchtower. And I'm like, oh, there's a watchtower. They have a watchtower. So Barry in outer space. That's why future Barry wasn't in the episode. And then after that, then the blue crystal, the negative speed force, the crystal makes itself appear in front of Nora. Nora picks up the crystal, and now she's possessed by the negative speed force. While she's possessed by the negative speed force, she goes and talks to Eddie now. Negative speed force Nora is very scary because she was just like, oh, like she was just talking to him. She's like, oh, Eddie. She was just like, don't you want to be a man, not the worthless, spineless piece of shit you were back in 2017? And I was just like, damn, like just talk to this man however you want. And then because she was egging him on, and it was the negative speed force. The negative speed force through Nora was egging him on because she was just like, oh, you could have had a daughter, you could have married Iris, you could have had a life, but it was taken from you by the Flash. And then Eddie was like, wait, are you trying to tell me to kill your daddy? And then she was just like, oh, he's not your, he's your enemy. And then she was like, you just need to accept the power, and then everything will be okay. And then Eddie gets all like flustered, and he's just like, no, I don't know what to do. And then after that, that's when actual like Barry, like current Barry, shows up, because remember, while he was in the waiting room waiting for Iris to give birth, he disappeared again, and then he ended up in the future, in front of Nora, and then where Eddie is. Now, it hasn't been explained yet why Barry keeps disappearing and reappearing throughout time, so I guess we'll get that answer in the final episode. So he sees Nora, and he's like, oh my god, Nora, it's you. He gives her a hug, and then she stabs him in the chest, and then she's just like, you're gonna die. And it was so stupid because Barry literally said, because when Nora saw him, she was like, Dad, what are you doing here? And he was like, oh, he said the negative speed force is attacking us throughout space and time, using the people that we love against us. Hello, genius. Like, you just said these words out of your own mouth. Like, at first, when you see Nora, wouldn't you be like, hold up? He's like, let me check your pockets, make sure you ain't packing nothing. Like, he should have, I understand that's your kid and all, but come on, bro. Like, the words literally just came out of his mouth 2 seconds ago. So then he gets stabbed in the chest. Eddie shows up, and then he's like, what are you doing to the Flash? And then she's just like, Eddie, you spineless coward, take the power, accept the power. And then Barry gets his speed back, and then he rushes him and Eddie out of there, and they go back to the West household. Speed Force Nora showed up earlier in the episode, basically to tell them that all hope is lost. She said that the Speed Force is all but dead, and the only spark of the only Speed Force that still exists on the planet is in the West family. That includes Wally. So now they're back at the West household, and then that's when Barry, he gave Eddie a hug, and he's like, I don't know how you're here, but I never got to thank you for sacrificing yourself. And then that's when Eddie was like, oh, my sacrifice meant nothing because nothing changed, and the Reverse Flash is still alive. And then that's when Barry was like, no, he said your sacrifice meant everything because you kept me alive. And then the negative speed force, it was talking to Eddie while he was talking to Barry, and then that's when Eddie was just like, yeah, but he said, but I killed myself for you, and how did you repay my sacrifice? You stole my woman, knocked her up, got her pregnant, and you took the life that should have been mine. And I'm sitting here like I'm trying to be like, nah, Eddie bugging, Eddie crazy, Eddie this, but I'm just like, nah, he kind of got if we being honest, like he do kind of got a point, because like he was supposed to marry Iris, and then but then at the same time you can't feel bad for Eddie, because it's like, bro, because like the whole thing with Eddie was he was just mad, like, oh, the Flash stole the life that should have been mine, and I want my life back. I want the life that I was supposed to have. But I'm like, bro, you shot yourself. Like, you chose that. Like, you chose. Like, he's talking about, oh, this should have been my life. But when it comes to shooting yourself, you chose that life. And you can't take that out on Barry. Like, that was all on you. So anyway, so now he mad, and he trying to figure out, like what he should do. The Speed Force, the negative Speed Force now, it's possessed Nora, and then it's running around the city with Nora, beating up people, blasting people with Speed Force power. And then negative Speed Force Nora, she's just like, oh, Flash, if you don't come out here, I'm going to kill the citizens of Central City. And then Barry tells Eddie, he like, look, bro, he's like, I don't know what you going to do, but I got to go give my daughter the ass whooping she deserved and get the negative Speed Force out of the system. He said, I know you're going to make the right choice. I'll be back. And then he runs to go save the day. Now back at Team Flash, back in present Team Flash, 2023 Team Flash, they're trying to figure out how they can help Barry, because they were just like, well, first Barry went to the past and then he came to the present, so obviously now he's in the future. Chester said that Cecile she used her power once before to astral project herself into other people's minds. I guess she did that. I don't remember that. But it does sound like something she would have done. So then Chester comes up with the idea. Now all of a sudden, Cecile has a new power now. Well, because she said that, oh, I can feel when Barry was in the past, I was able to feel him. I was able to feel his presence. And then Chester comes out of nowhere and he's just like, well, if you can feel his presence in the past, maybe you can project your psychic power through into the future. You can take over your future body and you can use your future body through yourself to go help the Flash. And I'm sitting here and I'm just like, it's not that I have a problem with her having that ability. It just feels like something they should have discovered a long time ago. And now it's just like they just conveniently discovered it in this particular moment. Like Chester should have honestly thought about that a long time ago. So, and then they actually have the exact machinery like that's capable of pulling that off. They put the girl in the machine. She finds where Barry's emotions are, whatever. I guess she horns in on herself and then she projects herself into her future body. And then now she's in the future. And then she looks at herself and she's like, damn, I still look good. And I'm just like, yeah, you look exactly the same, unlike Iris. And then, she ends up talking to future Chester and future Allegra. And then this is where Cecile kind of got off track because she was just like, oh, where's Barry? And they were just like, oh, Barry's in outer space. And then she was just like, okay. She's like, well, I'll get on comms, maybe contact Joe and see how things are doing. And then Chester was like, well, that'd be cool because you haven't seen him in God knows how long. And then she was just like, how long has it been actually? And then Allegra was like, I don't know. She's like, you only go to the house like twice a year. And then she was like, oh no. So now she's like mortified because she spent so much time being a superhero, saving lives, saving the world, being the heavy hitter for the Flash team. She's actually been neglecting her family and she actually hasn't been around her family. Her daughter now has to be 25. Lord knows if she's been there for all of it. And she just took this one specific year off. They never actually said how long, like they never said when she stopped going home. But the way Cecile took it, she took it as she ain't been home in ages and she hasn't seen her kid in like 15 years. For all we know, you've probably been with your family for 24 years and this one particular year you just had to help Team Flash, so you couldn't actually be there for that 1 year. But she freaked out. And because she freaked out, she broke the connection that was keeping her in the future. She wakes up, she goes and runs away, and then everybody was just like, yo, what happened? And then she was just like, I don't want to talk about it. And then she walks away. Keon tells Chester for some reason, she's like, oh, you're the one that, because like on Team Flash, everybody has to give somebody the speech. And Keon said that Chester was the person who was the right one to give Cecile the speech. And if we're being honest, aside from conversations with Allegra, I don't think I ever remember Chester giving the speech. Like, I don't remember Chester actually giving somebody the hallway speech. So, but this time it was Cecile. So he talked to her, and then he was just like, "Look, I don't give a damn what you." And Chester got a little aggressive. He was like, "I don't give a damn what you did in the future." He said, "I just know that here you're a loving mother. You're a good friend, and you're a hero. And then I don't want to hear no shit." So then she puts her ass back in the seat, and then she goes to help the Flash. So now the Flash, he's in the future now. He's fighting Nora. He's going back and forth with his Nora, and then while he's fighting Nora, like just before Nora was about to kill him, because she was like, "You'll never be able to kill me without killing yourself, Flash." And then Cecile shows up in her new super suit. She's able to stop Nora dead in her tracks and cast the negative speed force out of her system. I'm like, when were we able to do this? And then the negative speed force, like the crystal ends up on the floor. Nora's back to normal. And then she's like, "Leave my family alone." And the crystal disappears. Nora gets up. She hugs the Flash. Cecile hugs the Flash. And she's like, "Hey, Barry, it's me from 2023. And then now they're all back in the future and they're having conversation and they're trying to figure out what they should do next. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, Eddie dumbass went to go actually talk to Iris, like I said before, and then he's just like, "Oh, Iris, like my beautiful Iris, it's me, Eddie Thawne." And then she's just like, "Oh my God, Eddie, how are you here?" And he's like, "It's really me." And then his dumbass, he's just like, "Listen, I need you." He's like, "Take my hand, Iris, and let's be together again." And she's like, "Bro, I got a man." She's like, "I don't know where you've been at for the last 50 years. And she's like, "Son, I got a man." She's like, "I got a man and a family." And she's like, "I ain't giving that up for your ass." And he's just like, "No, you'll regret this. I killed myself for you." And she was like, "Yeah, and your sacrifice is the reason why I got a man and I got a family." So then now he mad, and then like he walks away, like he's all like, ah. Iris ends up going to Star Labs, and then Iris sits down and actually has a conversation with young Barry, with 2023 Barry. And then it was kind of cool seeing like old Iris, who still looked good, and young Barry having a conversation. And then she was just like, "Oh, I can't remember." She said, "It's been so long since I've seen you like this." And then he's like, "Oh, you still look the same way you looked from the day I met you." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." And then the two of them talking, and he's just like, "No matter what happens, I'll protect you and I'll protect our family." And then it's like the most that Iris did, like she put her hand on his knee, and then she was just like, I love you, Barry, or whatever. And but then, was I the only one in the moment who was like, look, it's okay for you to kiss him, because if you kiss the younger version of your husband, you're not cheating on the current older version of your husband. You kiss the man. But then, after she put her hand on his knee, Barry disappeared again, and Lord knows where he at now. We'll find out in the last episode. Now we're back at Mercury Labs, and Eddie's there, and he's seeing images. He's seeing image crystals of a blonde version of Nora, who should have been his daughter, and Iris from season 1, who should have been his wife. And he's just like, oh, why would you bring me back just to show me what I can't have? And then the crystal was just like, because you will take your vengeance. And he's like, just accept the power, Eddie thought. And I'm like, Eddie can't be this stupid, but he is he's emotionally distraught, and the Speed Force caught him at the right time. Iris rejecting him was the final nail in the coffin, but that's not Iris's fault, because I'm like, son, like, she got a man, she got a family. So then he's just like, accept the power, Eddie Thawne, and take your rightful place. And then he accepts the power, and then now Eddie Thawne is officially the new Speed Force avatar. And if you notice, when he picked up the crystal to accept the power, it showcased every evil speedster, like Godspeed, Zoom, Savitar, Reverse Flash. It flashed all the old Speed Force villains, because I guess the negative Speed Force had something to do with all of them at some point, like hating the Flash and trying to kill the Flash. Like, the negative Speed Force provided all of them with the power at some point to be, to be the evil avatar. So now Eddie's one of them. I don't know what costume he gonna wear. Maybe Eddie will put his consciousness into each individual villain, because I heard they're supposed to be coming back. Who knows? But we'll see how that goes in the series finale of The Flash. And thank you for tuning in. So this is decent. Like I said, not too much happened, really. It was just Eddie just wandering around. It was nice to see Nora back. Lord knows where Bart is. But we're here at the end, the second to last episode. We already lost Titans. And next week, ladies and gentlemen, we will officially say goodbye to The Flash. I am planning on doing the series finale for The Flash with Justin, my ONG podcast member, because he's a fan of The Flash too. We're both fans of The Flash, and we were like, hey, the two of us have never actually done a Flash review together. So we were like, well, shit, since this is the final episode of The Flash ever, we're going to jump on and we're going to do a ONG Imaginative Visions Red Eyes Entertainment collaboration as we say goodbye to The Flash. So check me out on Twitter and or Instagram, always on YouTube. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down below. Let me know what you thought about this particular episode of The Flash, about Nora coming back, about Eddie accepting the power, and where we go from here as we roll on to the end. Superman and Lois is on a break right now, guys, so we don't get Superman and Lois until next week. And after that, so after Wednesday, once Wednesday comes and goes, once The Flash is officially over, we'll just be reviewing that Superman and Lois until we get Doom Patrol back, maybe a little Peacemaker, and at the end of June, we're going to get the return of Warrior. So until then, guys, until next week, as we conclude the 9-year journey of The Flash, it'll come back in a flash.